a hikikomori for over 50 years with zero time outside, raised in a dysfunctional home, estranged from family and friends, living with autism spectrum trait, never fitting the frame. Even after 20 years in religion, it never became a home. Misunderstood, distanced, quietly pushed out. I stood outside the circle of salvation, and I grew tired of carrying the illusion of life meaning. The effort to keep believing was what exhausted me.
I don't go outside. This is my battlefield, fighting alone every single day. No one sees it, but I keep going. Slow is fine, stopping is fine. Just move forward. Hikikomori hero, still standing. This is just a podcast.
Man, it was tough. It was rough. From the morning. I think I mentioned a little bit about what happened this morning last time. Anyways, there was a date change closed. So first I was wondering if there are any care facilities for people with severe OCD. I was thinking about looking it up, but I think hoping for something might be the thing humans fear the most. The bigger the hope, the scarier it is to actually have that hope. I felt that when I was registered with the Swiss Assisted Dying Organization, being able to end my life felt like hope to me. But I thought, if that doesn't work out, I probably won't have any motivation to keep going. So this time it's the same kind of thing. I have to go into the hospital. I have to go into the hospital for the serious illness. I have to accept that, and also accept that I have the serious illness, and I've been holding on to hope for more than 10-50 years that maybe I could live better. Holding out to hope that maybe something would change. But that hope just doesn't come. And if I let myself feel hope in a weird way, if I get into that habit, it's gonna be painful wherever I go from here on. It's gonna be living hell. I'd end up feeling like things can stay this way. If I start looking things up with hope in my heart, I definitely can't stop there. I'd start looking for more things. So I decided not to get into that habit. I stopped looking things up. I also today was tough changing clothes and wiping my body down. After that, cutting my toenails like I've talked about before. Just thinking about it gives me chills. Thinking about how many months away the next time will be. Every time I think things like maybe today's a good time to do it. So today I decided to just go ahead and cut my toenails. And since the routine change, checking everything is also a lot of work. I changed my clothes, and after I finished, cutting my big toenails took a really long time. And since I'm not doing my strength training or stretching regularly, it was really hard on my body. It was just a lot. Today it was tofu. I asked for a full bag. I hated it, but it was only half a block. And my parents said they knew in their head it was supposed to be a full block, but they only kept half a block cold, so they made a mistake. But that part doesn't really matter. What was worse was that when they realized that mistake, she let our this really loud, surprised voice, and I was dazing off. So I got started. That was scarier. Okay, next topic. I've talked to my parent about this many times. But the Japanese WBC players, especially Otani, have really heavy security around them. But I told my parent, those guys are monsters. Nobody's gonna attack them, even without security. The people who are really in trouble are the ones who are poor and weak. Because if something happened to them, they can't hire a lawyer. And they have no choice but to just cry themselves to sleep. Those are people who have it harder. Also, I watched a voice of a celebrity giving birth, and it really made me think. The pain she was in was probably about the same as when my stomach is really bad. Stomach pain. She got some relief from the pain, was able to talk a little. Then looked like she was in pain again. And the way she looked was exactly the same as when I get really intense stomach pain. I think she said the pain lasted for 4 hours. Well, maybe it wasn't quite that long. Maybe the worst of it was a bit shorter. I've had days where I was in pain for a whole day too. So I thought I probably experienced that level of pain, the kind you feel when giving birth, more than 300 times. Right now, my parent is nearby, so it's okay, but with childbirth, having a midwife or doctor, there is what keeps your mind together. And the same goes for me. Carrying this illness, I really think living alone would be too hard. Also, if someone was fan of this doctor, I thought they'd probably have really mixed feeling. But midwives and OBGYNs with someone in that much pain right in front of them, and all the risk involved, I thought that's a really incredible job. Also, I won't say this part because it's gross, but then I just changed my clothes, and then, of course, that happened right then. Talk about bad time. And also, before, when I used to take a bath, no way that's different when I used to cut my nails before a bath. It's a bit different now, but back then, because my schedule was so carefully mapped out, I never forgot anything. But with all the changes, I forgot what I was supposed to do day to day. Still, I checked everything in the house and on my body, and figured out that I need to cut my toenails, cut my fingernails. Normally, people do this without thinking, but I got a bit lost and had to think it through. Through. Everything is set in summer, and then when it changed to winter, things like the heater change, sheets close the window, the heater upstairs, the window in the next room, the heater and window downstairs, and adjusting how much tea I drink. All the changes that come with the season are on a list, and I go through and cross them off one by one. It's a lot of work. Before, cutting toenails was every 3 months, and everything had a set schedule. Cleaning on this day, cutting nails vary this many weeks, changing the toothbrush every this many weeks, and I used to do all of it before taking a bath. Everything carefully planned out. I also Arashi is doing a concert at Sapporo Dome, and I was watching a video from the day before. I was watching and thinking, are these ladies gonna be okay starting tomorrow? Someone I've been listening to on a podcast recently also support a Southern idol, and they are really passionate about it. I kinda get it, but I was wondering if their husband doesn't get jealous. Well, I guess it's better than them cheating. Okay, next topic. Also, I've been listening to podcasts lately, but there's nothing to learn from them. Nothing useful to me. Nothing that gives me anything to talk about, and that's a little surprising to me, but also kind of interesting. Well, I guess they just don't have anything else to do. I can do strength training either, and lately I've wanted to do it, but there's never been a time where I try it and things went fine. It always caused big problems. I hurt bones or a joint. Also, I saw that seats names from ESCOM field are out, so I was checking those out. Seeing things like that, thinking, well, that's expensive or that's pretty cheap. That's cheap, I understand. But thinking, well, that's expensive. It's also kind of fun. It's just the same for everyone. I even surprised myself, getting all worked out up loudly. Yelling that much and it's expensive. Even I look back and wonder what's so fun about that. Also, there are times when I can't help but wish bad thing on other people. Well, just a tiny little bit, like maybe 1% of the time. And the reason is, I guess, there's this instinctive wish that people would end up in the same situation as me. I wonder if that's the same for other people too. Well, I don't know. I'm just so incredibly alone. Maybe I'm looking for people who are in the same boat. Also, I really regret not keeping a diary to talk about on podcast. I wonder how could I fix that? Well, I guess it's not something I can fix now. But I think it's because of that feeling that I've been able to keep going for more than a year. And the religion I used to be in said things like feeling regret leads to the growth of the soul. That's a pretty out there, totally spiritual, but honestly, there's something to it. No, wait, feeling regret is psychological term. When there's something missing, you try to feel it. It can be a driving force, but calling it the growth of the soul is completely twisted logic. And I think that's a really unpleasant way to think. As someone who is realist, it's very like a convenient way of thinking, like a stretch, like pure superstition. And why I think that is because I thinking that exact same way. The fact that regret can be a huge driving force. The part I completely agree with. That's exactly why I know there's nothing more to it than that. I get it because I was in religion. I understand. But going back to what I said earlier, it's probably because of these 50 years that I'm able to make this show. Of course, because of these 50 years, I'm able to talk about these things. But I also do wish I'd kept a diary. Even if I had a diary, I'd only be talking about event. But I could at least written down my doubt. Ideally, the best things would have been recording a podcast from my back then, but also human memory, the memories that get written and stay with you are actually really important. I really believe that. That's what I believed and kept going with. The things that stay in my memory like this, not very happy ones in the case of trauma, but the fact that they've stayed with me means maybe there's something that lingers in them. I'm recording at night now. Humans are weird to maintain balance normally. Humans are wired to maintain balance normally. I think for everyone, maintaining balance is a default. But I feel like balance gets romanticized too much. Of course, biologically we are made to find balance. So the definition of balance is really complicated and hard to explain. Especially Japanese people with the idea of wabi-sabi say that balance is important. Sometimes that means holding contradictory ideas at the same time. That's what they call balance. And I don't think that's always a good thing. Because it's contradictory after all. But even if it's contradictory, it can sometimes help you. Like I said earlier, I also have regret. But well, that's a small thing. Life doesn't have meaning in the first place. Thinking like that, raising the level of abstraction really high. That's when it all becomes a mistake. There's no more need for value judgment. But maybe that's what humans have to do to keep going. Maintain that balance. And it comes down to mental strength. I think the situation this time going so far that life becomes completely manageable is something to avoid. But keeping the balance, making it convenient for yourself. In my case, it's not really convenient. It's more than the nihilistic to begin with. So I end up thinking that way. Yeah, it's getting complicated, so let me keep it simple. Maintaining balance in the convenient way does make things are easier emotionally, but on the other hand, other hand, you stop being hard on yourself. I think there's also this thing where you fail at something, but then think looking back on this later, I'll probably laugh about it. And you maintain balance that way. I think that gets romanticized way too much. If instead you face the fact seriously without thinking like that, there are real benefits to doing that too. Okay, next topic. This is interesting among a member of Nogizaka I've interacted with. There were two people who grew up abroad, and just both of them just really clicked with me in terms of how we think with things. It's not that I completely click with Americans either, but I just out of sync with Japanese people. I don't click with anyone. And you can kinda see it from that too. I really am different, out of sync, and I feel that sense of not fitting in. Also, one idol has a really realist way of thinking, and I thought there are people out there like me. All right. This is the person I talked about before, who's apparently really similar to me. Yesterday, she saw someone practicing back walkovers way too much. Say, "You are overdoing it. Your head must be spinning by now." Normally, you wouldn't say something like that. You'd say, "Well, you are working so hard." But that's so rare reality. She probably wanted to point out that there are real problems that come from over practicing. I think Japanese music, even though it's from my own country, is kind of uncool. And I've listened to it because it's familiar to me over the years, but just sports and various aspects of Japanese culture. Now that I'm older, I know you can really rank things as better or worse, but still it just feels a bit uncool to me. That cheering from Japanese fans and that wabi-sabi quality. It just feels half-hearted to me. Half-hearted to me, and I feel like it doesn't fit me. It doesn't fit me. Okay, so next is something about eating. When I really try to focus on tasting the food, it becomes like a gestalt collapse, and I end up just poorly sensing the taste, just experiencing the flavor directly like another animal would. I'm probably concentrating too hard. How do I put this? Even the awareness of what food is this kinda disappears, and it's like there's no concept at all. Just the flavor being sent directly to my brain. That's problem. Also today, during my meal, I realized if my focus slips even a little, I can't taste the food at all anymore. But humans are always subconsciously picking up on so many things. If you are fully focused only on what's right in front of you, that's actually dangerous for the living creature. But for me, if my focus slips even slightly during meal, I can't concentrate. So it takes everything I've got. Otherwise, I can't focus. Okay, next topic. Is it the host of the show? No, the members praising each other. There's this segment for whole idol members compliment each other, and again, this ended up being about idols. They were praising each other pretty seriously. Out of them started crying because she was so happy, and I was daydreaming about this. And the one doing the praising might have said, "The fact that you can cry like that is itself wonderful." Normally, even if someone really means it, people can just accept it honestly. But you were able to receive it sincerely. That itself is something special. That was my little daydream. I thought the one who was crying was really similar to me. Similar to me. Normally, in this kind of segment, people might make fun of someone for taking it too seriously, but this person just honestly and genuinely felt happy. I find myself thinking about things like this without even realizing it, like during meals. Oh, and today in the afternoon, I kept thinking about podcast stuff, and I just couldn't focus on what was in front of me, and that frustrated me. Same as yesterday. Also earlier was this Capital. I had something like an argument with AI, where it made a mistake and then told me it was my misunderstanding, and it kinda turned into a little argument. I thought, do I really have to argue with AI too? It gave me chills. I thought AI was on my side. I didn't think it would come to this. Also thinking about someone from high school, not the girlfriend I always bring up, but someone I used to walk to the bus stop with. That comes to my mind in my daydream a lot. I wonder if I should complimented her, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. Thinking about how I couldn't talk to her on the bus. Also, as a parent, my mom probably wished I would see my dad. There's nothing I can do about it though. No matter how much anyone complains, that's just a reality. I do pick up on the fact that my mom is probably always wishing that I'd meet with my dad. Also, there's a chance relatives and people I know are listening to this show. And at first that scared me, but thinking about it now, I kinda hope they're all kinda mixed feeling. different reasons for feeling that way. But I hoped they're listening also earlier, even though I said wished I'd started recording the podcast sooner, which contradict this part. I bought a phone to record the podcast, but I wonder if an IC recorder wouldn't be better, or if I got a phone too soon, or on the flip side, I'd gotten it earlier. I might have had too much fun with it, and maybe things not going that way was actually good, and that completely contradicts what I just said. But I've been thinking about it. I wonder if having a phone had made me enjoy myself too much. There's that feeling. Originally, I was supposed to get it after going into the hospital. So I've also been thinking, what would it have been like if I'd never had a phone at all? Also today I was listening to Smap Orange. I love the song and the chord progression is really nice. I think it's an album track and not a single aside, but I really love it. Also a video of people singing Nogizaka song at a choral contest and footage of Japan's WBC team practicing in Miami. Police motorcycles revving as they got on the path, and all those flashing lights too. I actually that would be scarier, not safer. Also, I may have eaten too much soy because even after changing my clothes, there was still a smell. Normally, changing clothes take care of it. I'm not sure where the smell is coming from. And today, when I was cutting my toenails, this never happened before, but there was a strong smell around that spot where I had a cut on my foot before. Maybe there was some dirt in there. Also, Otani Shohei in is 193 centimeters, and I was thinking the average height for a baseball player is probably at least around 180 centimeters, with 180 being the minimum, and some below that too. But then I noticed its height is totally different from the other Japanese player, which struck me as odd, and I've been thinking about it. When something like that comes up, it just kinda bothers me, feeling frustrating like I can accept it. But once I realized there's no point thinking about it, I feel better. Also, I was curious why there are so many foreigners working as bungee jumping and skydiving instructors, and I was thinking I'd look into it after this. Also, apparently, landing feet first in bungee jumping is really dangerous, which means there's no time to be scared. You really need to focus on landing heat first. That's what I was thinking about. If it were me, I wouldn't even have room to be scared because landing feet first sounds like it could be serious. I don't have the luxury of being afraid. I really can't understand why everyone is so scared. Being that scared, well, if your mind is the unsettled, you probably shouldn't be doing. On the flip side, when I'm in a dangerous situation, I tend to get pretty calm. You do find people like that sometimes, like robot, not a psychopath, just calm. Also today, in that compliment segment I mentioned, one of the girls that mostly known for comedy could only really say pretty standard basic things. And yeah, I guess the kind of things it's just a natural talent. On the flip side, in the situation like that, I can only say things that are too sharp or intense. Maybe I should be a little more balanced. But way it is that thing, normal things doesn't lead anywhere. And yes, that's all some people can manage, just giving a regular compliment. And on the flip side, the person I mentioned earlier who grew up abroad, well, both of them grew up abroad in America, and I guess think like American humor. The kind they actually understand probably makes more sense to them. Japanese com- comedians, I have no idea what's supposed to be funny about them. So things like election season or when Apple released new product, people going totally crazy over there. They get that. On the flip side, long lines for tapioca or ramen in Japan, I completely don't understand. Also, near where I live, there are some ridiculously overpriced placed model on the food stores. And what shocked me was the owner went to a cooking class, not to train seriously the chief, but a cooking class. Attended for 2 or 3 months and opened a restaurant. There's not one doing the cooking themselves. They develop the menu, and there are few places like that. Of course, some have gone through years of proper training, but the price are insane. And yet, there are not bad reviews and they've been going for years. It's incredibly quick. I just can't wrap my head around it. And I wish there was someone who understood what I mean. But there isn't. Also today, I was looking at unagi from Esconfield. Unagi, and it was small, really small, just a tiny portion. 2,000 yen, but honestly, seeing something that's extreme, I was genuinely impressed today. That's kind of great. Actually, like the size of an ice cream cup for 2,000 yen. Strangely, I was moved by it. Also, a student taking the Hokkaido University and entrance exam was talking about Arashi who are idols. Normally, you'd just call them idols, but this person called them renowned musician. And I thought, is this person okay? That's taking its way too far. That's taking its way too far. Well, I heard it's a Hokkaido University, and it's not like you have to be some super eccentric person to get in. Well, eccentric, edgy maybe, I'm not sure what word to use. But you don't have to be that kind of person to get in. The score isn't that high. Around 63 at most. I don't know what department this person is going to into. So I can say for sure. but it's not crazy high. And yet, there was a teacher who went to Hokkaido University, someone I really disliked, and they'd talk about it so proudly, which really annoyed me. It's not even that hard to get in. In Hokkaido, it's treated like a big deal, and it is a former imperial university, which does mean something, but getting in itself isn't particularly hard compared to Tokyo University, Kyoto University, Osaka University, and the like outside of those. It's not easy, but even now I still don't really understand. But all those people being interviewed the day before the Arashi concert, they were all around the same age as Arashi, or maybe some younger people too. But based on the interviews, there were almost no young people, which was surprising. There should be younger fans, but anyway, this is just something I imagined a daydream where the members of a male idol group say, "You might not believe this, but I'm really doing this purely for the fans." And I found myself actually wondering if that's true. For male idols over 3 or 40, some of them have families. It's different from being young. And I really wondered what it's like for them. What they actually feel doing this. When my parents have an argument, my parents say something like, "Keep it down. The neighbor can hear." But in our house, ever since the people next door moved in, and they don't say that anymore. So maybe just don't care what those neighbors think. That's what I was wondering. Or actually, it's strange. Why don't they say that anymore, like they used to? And that's what I keep thinking. I honestly don't know. I mean, just arguing between family members probably isn't that much of bother to the neighbor in the first place. Also, next topic. Hypocrites. Some people call out others' behavior by calling them hypocrites, and I can understand hypocrites in a way, but that's just the kind of people there because of people like that, others are being helped. So people like that exist. That's about how I feel. People who do a lot of volunteering, people who actively do good things, honestly more than we'd think. There is something behind it, some self-interest, right? But people who genuinely do it for others, I honestly can't quite understand that. But there are these kind of unusual people are out there because ultimately humans are proven to be selfish creatures. So in that sense, I kinda understand them as just being made a bit differently. But today, I was watching TV today, and there was a story about hotel lowering prices to support students taking the entrance exam. People who do that probably had a successful exam experience themselves, and so they wanna relieve that feeling. Of course, that kind of feeling. The energy to help support the what's right in front of you. In a good thing, I think I'm not sure about this person specifically, but I think that's often the case, and that's why I think cram school teachers are proud of what they achieved themselves. Cram school teachers talking to students on exam day, cheering them on at the venue. Watching that makes feel really uncomfortable. I think they are probably just projecting their own past as the student. That's fine, but my own cram school teacher really pushed all kind of things on us. Not just being strict about studying, but being really eccentric in general, which I hated. Saying things like extracurriculars are meaningless, and I think we know that we are doing them anyway, so don't keep saying it. That was a pretty shallow teacher. A teacher with shallow things. The world isn't that simple. I really don't wanna think about this teacher. I've talked about pretty traumatic experience before, so I won't go into more details here. But I am annoyed that they said things like, once you get to high school, you can have fun. That's kinda nonsense. Mom, how long have I been talking since I got into bed? There's quite a bit to talk about. I'm still not done. There were more things I wanted to say, but lately time had been going by fast, and I feel like I'm spending it without any purpose. And there are no right or wrong answer to this, but I find myself wondering whether I'm doing the right thing right now. Whether this past year has been the right thing. Also, earlier I wasn't sure whether to change the podcast cover at every time. I've been going back and forth on that, and the jingle too. I've been going with the same approach as before for the jingle, but I was thinking if there's time to change the music, maybe I should spend that time on something else. Also, earlier there was a mistake in the English conversation session, and it ended up taking about 2 hours. Normally, it's changed in 3 minutes. 30 minutes. That was really tough. I managed to finish it, but I wasted so much time. Got exhausted, and honestly, it's been getting kind of painful. Recording late at night now. Yesterday at our house, I let the day go by. But yesterday, my parents fell asleep at the computer playing around with it, and then dozing off. I noticed right away. I thought something was off. When I'm not downstairs, they sometimes fall asleep like that. They have that habit. So I figured they must have fallen asleep again. And tomorrow, I'm planning to tell my parent that we can send a complaint related to the religion anytime. Also, I was thinking, do I actually have severe OCD or not? I'm not really sure. I don't rely on my parents' help, but once I'm hospitalized in the future, I'll probably be able to manage on my own. One thing I can say is, today my parent had get my toothbrush and tissue for me. And that's because there are things I don't manage myself. So there's nothing I can do about that. Is there anything I could be doing more on my own even now? Or is it that I already know it would be too much, so I'm not even trying? I'm not sure. Or I also know that forcing it could end up causing more trouble, which is part of why things are the way they are. I do take care of what I can on my own, but I'm not sure anymore. Also, about 2 hours, and once night, I come downstairs to use the bathroom. Today my dad wasn't home, so I could thumb down whenever. And of course, on a day like that, things went fire up without any problems. But luck, I thought I've been wondering about something for a while. Monks who do ascetic training, basically according to the teaching, is to move away from suffering to not suffer. That's the textbook explanation at least. The religion textbook explanation would be the their training to avoid suffering, but wanting to move away from suffering is itself desire. Buddha said that if you try to criminate suffering, that's when suffering is created. Of course, Buddha also presented way to eliminate suffering method to do so. Present way to eliminate suffering method to do so. But yeah, I think the simple who took it at face value ended up with a misunderstanding. Also, I just looked it up, and physically ascetic practice is apparently done to reduce desire, to reduce pressure, to do something physically difficult. That's the purpose. But whether desire actually goes down, biologically speaking, when you do something hard, right after the sympathetic nervous system works more strongly, your appetite might go down. But after exercise, your appetite comes back, doesn't it? You get hungry. I think there are deeper religion meaning to it. But either way, from a religion standpoint, it's not really what Buddha taught. It's something that's care after. A religion really, I was a bit skeptical. Buddha himself did physical training, but it was just part of the process of his practice. I think it's a simple mandate. The idea that physical aesthetic training reduces desire. I just can't understand it. There's no way that's true, and I've always wondered about it. The idea that physical practice helps you move away from suffering, and that which itself is desire, and the same goes for decluttering, cutting things out of one by one. That actually feels good. Thinking that doing this will save you. Isn't that itself desire? And that idea of reducing desire for things and wanting earlier life through physical training, but wanting to move away from suffering is itself taking the easy way out. Still, what Buddha taught was not wrong. Thank you for listening. Please follow this program. See you again.